All right, let's get right into it. We're going to explore how the methods used to influence and control society have changed over time. And it all starts with a story that, for decades, was hiding in plain sight.
So back in the 1970s, after the whole Watergate scandal, a whole bunch of documents started getting declassified. And journalists and congressional committees, well, they started digging. And what they uncovered was pretty shocking. The CIA had been running this massive, secret program for decades.
And that program had a name, Project MKUltra. You've probably heard of it. It was basically a real-life blueprint for how to alter human behavior, and its roots go all the way back to psychological techniques developed during World War II. And this wasn't some movie plot. This was a real, funded, and frankly terrifying operation.
So on paper, its official purpose was to develop mind-controlled drugs to use against the Soviet bloc. They claimed they were just responding to Soviet brainwashing techniques. But the reality, its scope was way, way broader, and the methods were just deeply disturbing. We're talking about everything from psychoactive drugs and hypnosis to sensory deprivation.
And when I say broad, I mean huge. The project operated under the cover of legitimate research at over 80 different institutions. We're talking major universities like Stanford, hospitals, even prisons. It had more than 150 separate subprojects. But here's the most chilling part. It often used unwitting American and Canadian citizens as its guinea pigs.
Just look at the sheer range of things the CIA was funding. At Stanford alone, they were secretly paying for everything from developing sedatives for something called Project Knockout to finding ways for agents to drink more alcohol without getting drunk. It's wild. This was never just about truth serums. It was about achieving total behavioral control.
Okay, so to really understand how these ideas of control jumped from secret government labs into the mainstream, we have to look at two competing nightmares that pretty much defined the 20th century. So on one side, you've got George Orwell's vision in 1984. It's a world controlled by raw pain, fear, and a government that is always, always watching. But on the other side, you've got Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, and his vision was a society controlled not by pain, but by pleasure, by endless distraction and consumerism, where people actually learn to love their own servitude. But here's the twist. It wasn't a competition. One didn't win out over the other, no. Instead, the people in charge realized that a hybrid system, that was way more effective. The boot of Orwell and the blissful distraction of Huxley started to merge into something much more sophisticated. So where can we see this hybrid model in action? Well, you don't have to look much farther than the huge social upheaval of the 1960s. This is where those theories of control really got put to the test on a massive scale.
Just think about this for a second. The exact same generation that got really, really good at mass psychology and propaganda during World War II, and then spent years refining it with projects like MKUltra, was now facing a rebellion from their own children. You think they just stood by and watched? No. They used the tools they had perfected.
And you had people on the inside, or at least close to it, who were sounding the alarm. Take Frank Zappa. His own father worked in chemical warfare for the defense industry. Zappa was deeply suspicious and tried to tell people that the whole counterculture thing wasn't as organic as it seemed. He saw it as a response to a deliberate push, a kind of managed event. And that's the playbook, right there. It's genius, in a terrifying way. Why crush a rebellion when you can steer it? The idea was to dilute all that revolutionary energy by channeling it into places that didn't actually threaten the system. You start digging and you find these really unsettling connections between major counterculture figures and military intelligence. It suggests a real effort to guide that descent into safe, even marketable forms.
Okay, so that brings us to right now, today, because the game has changed again. It's not about secret labs or co-opting rock and roll anymore. It's something much, much more subtle.
We're constantly told to be afraid of this big, scary monster, right? A single, evil super AI, a kind of Skynet apocalypse. But what if that fear is just a really clever misdirection? It makes us look for a single, visible enemy, waiting for some big, dramatic event, while the real threat just quietly builds up all around us. Because the actual threat isn't one all-powerful AI in a bunker somewhere. No. It's a distributed system. It's built out of the millions of tiny, specialized AIs and automated systems we use every single day, on our phones, on our computers, in our homes. Each one seems harmless, but together, they form a pretty comprehensive network of control.
So you might be asking, how does this whole system work without anybody really noticing?
Well, the crazy part is, it works because we let it. We give it our permission every single day, just by clicking OK.
And think about it. We've been trained for this. It often starts at work, right? The IT department just wants you to approve the latest update so everyone can get back to work. We learn to trade our awareness for efficiency. And the friction to resist is just overwhelming. I mean, who reads those terms of service? The price for opting out is being cut off from everything. So we just surrender our autonomy for convenience. It's learned helplessness. It kind of reminds me of something the writer C.S. Lewis pointed out. The greatest deception is to convince people that no deliberate manipulation is happening at all. When control just feels like the natural evolution of technology, and surveillance feels like a helpful service, the system itself becomes invisible. And that's what I want to leave you with. In this new, merged world of Orwell and Huxley, where control is subtle, distributed, and runs on our own participation, what does freedom even look like? If we've been taught, conditioned, to give our consent, is it really still a choice?